let's talk about Najee Harris. Look, and what does his future with the Steelers look like? Now, the first thing is obviously they didn't pick up the $6.7 million fifth-year option. A lot of people are bent out of shape about it. I'll tell you why I don't think you should be bent out of shape. First off, I believe by the middle of the season, this is an Arthur Smith offense. They use running back. We saw it last year in Atlanta. Now, you didn't see that in Tennessee, but they had Derrick Henry. That's a big difference. They used two running backs in Atlanta, and I just believe they're going to do the same thing in Pittsburgh. By midseason, him and Jaylen Warren are going to be splitting carries. I believe it wholeheartedly. That's not a knock on Najee. That's just what this offense is going to do. So if it's not picking him up isn't the big letdown that a lot of people think that it should be. It's just not. Look, the wide receiver, the running back position in the NFL, we know what it is these days. In Pittsburgh, it doesn't necessarily have to be a revolving door, but it can be. I mean, take a look at some of the possible free agents in 2025. There's nothing that really says that the Steelers need to get any of these guys. These are the guys that they're going to have and their ages. Who screams? And I've highlighted a few of them, like Khalil Herbert, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, Ramondre Stevenson, Chuba Hubbard. Obviously, you still have Najee and Jaylen Warren. Those are the only guys that I look at this list that think, okay, they could fit in here. Having said that, look at the average salaries at some of the guys that are playing in the NFL right now. Let's look at that, because that's the whole thing about this Najee and this fifth-year option. Is it worth paying $6.7 million? Yeah, I don't think that it is. And look at this list, as you can see right here. Number one, let's just be honest with ourselves. How many of these guys is Najee better than? Let's start there. Now, there's a few. Don't get me wrong. There's absolutely a few. But how much are you going to pay any of these guys to be on your team? Are you going to pay him $6-7 million? Like, look, Miles Sanders. Najee's better than Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders had one good year, got a big contract, and he was terrible last year. Now, Carolina had a terrible line, but don't tell me it was worse than what the Steelers threw out there for the last couple of years. Steelers line's been bad too. So I don't want to hear that excuse out of Miles Sanders. But Najee's a better back than him. But are you going to pay Najee this kind of money? No, man. No. And I just think for what it is, look, Najee is fine. He's fine. I don't want anybody to think that I'm telling you that he's terrible. He said, but to pretend that his numbers have just been outstanding, we're living in a fantasy world. And I know the benchmark and what everybody always pushes out there. Oh, well, he's had over 1,000 yards 3 straight seasons. But take a deeper dive, people. 17 games, 1,000 yards. Last year, he averaged 60 yards a game. 60. So are you wanting to pay a guy that over the last 2 seasons, he's averaged 60 yards a game? You're wanting to give that guy $6.7 to $7 million a year? No, absolutely not. Look, the Steelers, their running back system and what Arthur Smith is going to do, it's going to be a 2-back system. And if it's going to be that, barring injury, you're going to tell me that you're going to give the guy that's averaging 60 yards a game $7 million? Stop it. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. And not only that, the Steelers have decided they're not doing that. So let's move on. So the next thing that we need to talk about with Najee is, will he be traded? There's rumors out there. First of all, there was the rumors with the Cowboys and rumors that he's going to get traded. The answer to that for me is no. And here's the reason why. First off, Najee's not bad. Let's not act like he's a terrible running back. I've never said, even the stuff that I just finished saying, those aren't terrible numbers, okay? But it just means the Steelers aren't going to pay that guy $7 million for those numbers. I said, but he's serviceable. So why would you trade him? He's not the only guy in Pittsburgh Steelers history to play on the last year of his contract. Not to mention, it probably helps the Steelers more than it hurts them this year. Why? Well, because he wants a big contract. And if he plays himself into a big contract, that means he's played well this year. That's what that means. I'm under the I don't know, the belief that if you want a big contract, and this is kind of the thing in the NFL, guy always performs the last year of his contract, gets a big deal. Look, the Steelers aren't giving that to him, so we got to move on. But he doesn't need to be traded. Not to mention his trade value right now is zero. Nobody's trading for Najee Harris. You're going to trade for him in the last year of his deal? And for the same reasons that somebody would want him, wouldn't the Steelers still want him for those same reasons? Of course we would. So there's no reason to get rid of Najee Harris. He is not going to be traded unless somebody just blows our socks off. And if that's the case, then yeah, we can take a look at getting rid of him. But I don't think that's going to be the case. And I don't think there's a reason to trade him. Now, the last thing about Najee, will he be re-signed? Yeah, no. I think this is it for Najee in Pittsburgh. And here's the reason why. They know what his ceiling is. Look, Najee is there. You know, it's not that he's not within the walls of the Rooney complex. He's there. They know what his strengths are. They know what his weaknesses are. They know what his ceiling is. And they've decided, yeah, it's not worth $6.7 million. So I know a lot of people out there, well, why don't you pay him $3 or $4 million? And yeah, that might make sense. But I think what the Steelers are saying, if we're going to pay $3 or $4 million, we want something more. We want something better. Or we can pay somebody less to give us the same amount of production of what he's been giving us. Throw away the rookie year. We're not talking about the rookie year. We're talking about the last couple of seasons. And yes, he will probably have a better season under this offense. I 100% admit that. But does it still make sense to give this guy $2 or $3 extra million on what he's going to make? Because he'll get $3 or $4 million on the market, if not more. Are you willing to pay that? Again, 60 yards a game. 1,000 yards is not what it meant previously, people. And I know in a passing league, I get all of that. But he averaged 4.1 yards a carry last year. Now, that was up from 3.7 and 3.8 the previous two seasons. Again, bad offensive line, but no, the Steelers are not going to re-sign. It just doesn't make sense at this point. Again, for that kind of production, they can find it and probably find it for a lot cheaper. They can find it and find it for cheaper. That's just the way the NFL is working these days. I apologize. I'm sorry. I wish we could keep everybody. Najee's a good guy. I don't think we have anything to worry about him in the locker room being a head case. I know those are rumors out there. He's not going to be a head case. He's a good locker room guy. He's a leader. But unfortunately, he plays a position that is just not a premium in the National Football League right now. And there's no reason to go out there and pay Najee that kind of money for what he brings to you. So they will not be re-signing Najee Harris at all. This will be his last year as a Steeler.